This is Mr. Scott. He is the star of my brand new Star Trek fan fiction play. In this episode, Mr. Scott has a drinking problem. This technically is just soda, so I don't get in trouble with the kids or YouTube. But it also stars Mr. Captain Kirk. And it does not star Chekhov, but I have him sitting here, so I'm going to show Mr. Chekhov to you. It does have Spock in it, so he's in the other room. I forgot to bring him, but just kind of imagine the pointy ears, you know. If you like this stuff, you know, I appreciate it if you would subscribe to me. And as a little channel, and I tell you, I'm a little channel. I have hardly any followers at all, any subscribers. I would appreciate any comments you give me, any comments, good, bad, or otherwise. Give me some story ideas, you know. I'm pretty quick about writing these things up. I can whip out 3 pages in about 15 minutes most of the times. Once I get a little idea in my head, it kind of writes itself. And this one here was 3 pages. Most of them are 3 pages. I just uploaded a 6-page one because one of my fan club said, I shouldn't say it that way, I really do appreciate this. One of the people who did comment actually said he would appreciate a longer version. So I did 6 pages, and it was a mouthful. It was long, but it was fun, and I enjoy doing this, and writing is one of my things. I'm Keith Trimm Art, but I'm also Keith Trimm Writing. I'm also Keith Trimm Music, but I'm not going to get my guitar out. That wouldn't work on this channel. So, thanks for watching, and enjoy. Captain's Log, Stardate 3104.5. The Enterprise is on a routine survey mission of the third moon of the planet Sirius 6, recording measurements for a geographical map and tectonic grid. The survey has been uneventful, and the surface of the moon is similar to the other 2 moons, with silica and igneous land formations. The survey is expected to take 2 days. Enterprise Chief Engineer Scott leans back in his chair with his eyes closed, half-crocked on premium Scotch whiskey, in the auxiliary control center. He has already disabled the inertial damping through a system of overly complex security measures and has rigged the ship to automatically jump to warp 6 in 20 minutes. The security system was designed with safeguards to keep that very scenario from occurring, but with Scott's intimate knowledge of the Enterprise systems and ability to reroute the commands, the crew of the ship were doomed. In 20 minutes, everything that wasn't secured to the floor would be smashed backwards against the bulkheads and turned to jelly. Scotty, Kirk called over the communicator. You're late to the bridge. Is anything wrong? Scotty leaned forward and pressed the respond button. He slurred his speech as he replied. All's well, Captain. I'll be there in a minute. Scotty had no intention of filling his post on the bridge, instead launching a shuttlecraft he had reserved earlier in the day. He didn't need any assistant to get the shuttlecraft off the Enterprise, as he pre-programmed the system in advance. Scotty, are you okay? Kirk asked, hearing the slur in the engineer's voice. Kirk pressed a button on his captain's chair, and the view of engineering popped up on his screen. It was then he noticed the half-drank bottle of whiskey at Scotty's desk, and Scotty leaning over, burying his head in his arms. Spock, McCoy, Dickerson, to engineering now, Kirk barked, and led the men to the turbo lift. What is it? McCoy asked, concerned. Something's wrong with Scotty, Kirk replied. He's either drunk or incapacitated, or both. How can you tell? McCoy asked. He slurred his words, and I saw a bottle of whiskey on his desk, Kirk replied. Dickerson, be ready to force the door open if you have to. I don't know what my engineer will do, alone and intoxicated. Yes, sir, Dickerson replied. Then a call came over the communicator for Kirk. Captain, Uhura said, did you authorize a shuttlecraft? A shuttlecraft? For what? Kirk asked. I don't know. There is a shuttlecraft set to leave the ship in 15 minutes, and it was checked out by Engineer Scott. Spock, do you know any reason why Scott would want to take out a shuttlecraft? I thought the survey was going well. It is, Captain, Spock replied. I have no idea why Scott would want to take out a shuttlecraft. The turbo lift stopped on the engineering deck, and the doors opened. All 3 men stepped out and approached the door, expecting it to open. It didn't. This is very concerning, Kirk said, waving his arms about. Dickerson, open this door. Dickerson stepped over to the door and placed his override key into the access system. He expected the door to open immediately, but nothing happened. "I don't understand," Dickerson said. "This has to work." "Obviously, your key does not function," Spock said. "Is there a secondary method to gain entry?" "We can beam inside. It's risky on a moving ship. Or we can melt the bulkheads, but I have to get the lasers down here, and they are bulky and difficult to use." Kirk pulled out his communicator and called for Scott. "Scotty, open this door. We're locked out." "I know, Captain. I'm the one who locked it," Scotty replied. "Why? What's going on? Why did you reserve a shuttlecraft?" Scott knew the shuttlecraft was pointless by now, but wasn't willing to stop his plan. He took a long drink from his whiskey bottle and set it back down, hoping the intoxication would prevent him from feeling the pain of being squashed at the back of the engineering department. Deep inside, he knew there would be no pain, but being numb wouldn't hurt. "I was going to escape for a while, at least," Scotty replied. "Escape from what?" Kirk asked. "I disabled the inertial dampeners and set the ship to warp 6. In 10 minutes, you and everyone on board will be liquid." Shocked, Kirk looked at Spock, who was also at a loss for words. "I wanted to see it all play out from my own little room," Scotty added. "Turn the dampeners back on," Kirk yelled. "The procedure to disable and reinstate the dampeners is very time-consuming," Spock said. "That was intentional, to keep anyone from doing what Scott has done. I don't believe he has time." "What about disabling Warp 6? Kirk asked. "That depends on the code he used and the systems he employed. It would take time to figure out what he did," Spock replied. "Either way, we have minutes to live." Stunned, Kirk shook his head, pondering his own demise. "There must be a way," Kirk said under his breath. "Yes, there is," an unidentified voice called out. That is the end of my 3-page Star Trek fan fiction starring Mr. Scott. And Mr. Scott had some Scotch whiskey. This is not Scotch whiskey, so you know this is good for kids. This is actually Diet Dr. Pepper. It's just a stand-in prop. And this is Captain Kirk. He had a pivotal part in this as well. I also have Mr. Chekhov here, who did not have any speaking parts in this play. I probably should have grabbed my Mr. Spock doll. I didn't. He's out in the other room. Just kind of imagine that Spock was here. But Mr. Scott was the main actor. So if you like what I do, I have about 10 or 12 of these done now. I have them on a playlist. You can just bing, 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 and binge watch them all if you like what I do here. I think these are kind of creative and they're fun to do. And I plan to continue to do them. So it's like, subscribe, and ding the bell. If you ding the bell, then you'll know just when I upload a brand new one. So I am a member of Starfleet, as you can see, and have a good day.